Now you may have saw recently that I featured a video from Turtle Wax on a product that I left sitting in my cupboard for a good year. Now that wasn't the only product that I had there. In fact, I had this one, which is their fabric protector. But also a couple of weeks ago, I managed to get myself some of this smart fabric from G Techniq because I had a customer who wanted to protect all his Alcantara and his fabric in his Lamborghini. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to put these two to the test. Right, so I've got my Porsche 911 mats out of my Kia Sportage. But anyway, what I want to do is give it a nice clean up first. So we're not actually going to be using any chemicals because there is some stains on this. Normally, I would use a pre-cleaner or I'd use a carpet cleaner to get the results I want. But I'm actually just going to use a drill brush and a vacuum cleaner. I want it to be as dry as possible just because I don't want any chemicals to interfere with these results in any way, shape or form. There you go. So it's amazing just how clean you can get a mat using a vacuum cleaner and a drill brush. I know there's a few little bits on here, but yeah, quite frankly, I don't care. So we're going to divide this in half. One side's going to be Turtle Wax, the other side's going to be G Techniq, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen here because my money would normally be on G Techniq, but because I haven't tried Turtle Wax and this is part of their new range, I really don't know how this one's going to pan out, but I'm just going to get straight on with it because I cannot wait any longer. So this side of the mat is going to be Turtle Wax, and on my side here we're going to have G Techniq. No expense spared here. Nothing but the best. So what we're going to do now is just put a divider in the middle because we don't want any cross contamination. I don't want any G Techniq coming over to the Turtle Wax side and vice versa. Right, I have just the thing. I've got a lid here from a box. So I want to make sure I get this right. What I'm not going to do is spray this top section here because I want to show you the difference between the G Techniq and the Turtle Wax because I think you'll be blown away. Hopefully you'll be blown away. As always with these types of products, make sure the lid is on securely and then give it a shake because you don't want this going anywhere. It's lethal stuff, and my word, I used it the other day and it stinks. So what I'm going to do here is thoroughly soak it like it says on the bottle. I would say that is enough. Right, so now we're just going to leave that for a bit because I now want to move this over to here, but I want to let this dry naturally a bit first so you can see, well actually I don't know if you can see on the camera, you can see the difference where I have just sprayed with that line there. Oh, God, that is so strong. Do you know what, you should be doing this in a well-ventilated area and make sure you've got a mask as well. Very important or you end up like me. Doesn't say anything on the bottle with the G Techniq at all about how long this takes to dry and in terms of whether you can actually use it straight away. That's one thing I was kind of hoping because if you're just going to pick this up in a shop or something, ideally it's good to know there and then what you should do with it because if I sprayed this and it was slightly damp and then you were to go put your feet in it, would it actually come off on your trainers? Would there be some other issues that it's not going to work as well? I don't know, but that would have been quite a good thing. In fact, I don't know if Turtle Wax actually says anything about this because it says, it's got a lot of instructions on here. It's got directions on how to use it all, but it's also got a QR code, which I think is a pretty good feature, which is something I used on my own products, which G Techniq still don't do on theirs. Right, so the G Techniq is as good as dry now, and as you can see very closely here, there's two different colours. Now this is the importance of spraying something evenly. Now when I did a Lamborghini Urus the other day, we found that I had to do some test areas first to make sure nothing was going to go wrong. You should always test a little area before you even do this. But if you didn't spray it evenly, and I'm not saying it's changed the colour of it, it's just darkened it at the minute, and I don't know whether after 24 hours that'll be completely back to this level. I'm not quite sure yet because we're literally filming it right here, right now. But when I come back to doing the pouring test tomorrow, maybe hopefully it would have all blended in. But it just goes to show just how important it is to make sure that you get a nice even coverage. It even says on the Turtle Wax bottle, actually funnily enough it doesn't mention it on the G Techniq bottle, but if you are somebody who's going to be picking up this product, you are going to be one sharp smart cookie because you're probably going to have done your research before, because anyone who buys that is normally a pro. This is normally aimed at your domestic market. Look at that, it's still got dust on it because it's sat in the cupboard for a year. So this is aimed at your beginner market, which is something you're going to find in every Halfords, whereas with this, that's more professional aim. So this is going to be a really good one to see what's going to happen. Will I get similar sort of results in case of the mat's actually changing colour and being slightly darker? We really will see. I'm happy with that. I'm high as a kite, but I'm happy nevertheless. Right, so it's now time to use my Turtle Wax, and I'm going to follow everything exactly as it says. So it says make sure the fabrics are clean, yes, thoroughly. tests first on an area. No, we're actually going to jump straight into it on this occasion because it's my old mat. And we're going to make sure that we spray. Okay, so it says allow to dry and repeat step 1 to 2 more times to build up layers and improve protection. So this is going to be quite interesting now because it doesn't say anything about that for the G Techniq. I've done 1 layer with G Techniq and I'm not going to use a second layer. And in fact, I'm not going to use a second layer with the turtle wax either because it's not really going to make it a fair test. I want to see what both of these products are like just by using the same amount of chemical on the fabric. If I start doubling up or tripling up with the turtle wax and then the turtle wax looks even better, then the results just aren't going to be the same. And then I could say the same for G Techniq. Well, why didn't I give that 2 coats? So we're going to do 1 coat and 1 coat only. And I do need to give this a good shake as it's sat around for such a long time. Right, so one thing I've noticed just by using this with this trigger spray, it seems to have gone everywhere, a lot more compared to the G Techniq. If I was to spray this, I'm just going to do 1 spray here. Yeah, this feels more like a mist and it feels a bit more controlled. This was just a bit chaotic. This has gone everywhere, all over the plastic. So this is chucking out a lot more product, which is another thing you've got to be careful of because if you are doing this in an outside environment and you're not in a controlled environment with no wind, trust me, that could go everywhere, so you've got to be very careful. But it does interest me, the fact that it says you can apply it 1 to 2 more times on top to build up layers. Are they saying that because they haven't got enough faith in the product if you were just to use 1 layer maybe? I don't know, I'm very curious. I don't know what to make of this. I've now got multicoloured mats. And the annoying thing is now, I have to wait a minimum of 12 hours before I can do any proper testing. Turtle wax says 12 hours, it doesn't say any hours on the bottle of the G Techniq. So for them, it's probably going to be okay in a few hours at least. But for this, I just have to play the waiting game. So here's what's going to happen. I may do a few multiple takes on this, but this is the first attempt anyway. Turtle wax, G Techniq, let's go. Oh, Lord. Look at that. There is a massive difference. Oh, my word. Okay. Let me do that 1 more time. And yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? Let's go a bit lower. Let's do it on this dry patch. Look at this. Oh, okay. Wow, there is a big, well, a significant difference between the G Techniq and the turtle wax. The turtle wax, that has just gone through. That's done absolutely nothing. They've both had equally the same amount of spray on. I did the same amount of squirts with the triggers. That's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely hopeless. That is terrible considering it's 1 squirt. I know it doesn't recommend doing 1 squirt, it recommends doing a few applications. But the point I'm going to have to make here is, who's going to have the time? If you're doing a job and you want to offer this to a client and you're going to say, right, I'm going to protect your fabric on your car, you're not going to say, oh, by the way, sorry, I've got to come back tomorrow and give it a second going over. They're just going to want to get it done in 1 hit. You're not going to want to have to come back if you don't need to do anything else. For me, there's only going to be 1 winner here, and it's G Techniq by a mile. So I gave these an equal amount of sprays each, and the funny thing is, the G Techniq one isn't quite perfect here, but I suppose I spent more time focusing on spraying this area maybe, because I didn't really go all the way up to the top there, so I guess that may have had something to do with it. But if we look at the lower section here, which I know I smothered, look at this. That is unbelievable. That is literally bone dry, apart from a few little droplets. But look, once they catch on there, they're gone. And then the turtle wax. Well, it works to, I can kind of say I can see where it works. I imagine if you put another coating on, and maybe even a third one, you would get the same kind of results as the G Techniq. But I just don't think, it's got a little bit more water here. I mean, how can you compete this? How can you compare that to that? You just can't. I mean, that is unbelievable. That is a fantastic product. Yeah, there is only one winner, and it's G Techniq. So now we just got to cover the prices to find out whether there is any difference in terms of value for money. The Turtle Wax for 500 mils is going to cost you £15. The G Techniq for 250 mils is going to cost you £16.75. However, you only need to use one application. You don't need to do any more coatings than that. Just one spray and you're done. Whereas with the Turtle Wax, they're advising 2 to 3. Now, even if you did that with 2 applications, realistically, it means that you're going to have to use the product twice. So you're still going to, although it's got double the volume for the same amount of money, you're still not really getting any better deal because you've got to go through it twice. You've got to use twice the product. So that means when I'm comparing the two, value for money, again, this is the smart option, using the smart fabric. And bearing in mind, I've only gone over with one application. Now, if I really did stick to the guidelines as they had advised, then I probably would have got the same results. But that's not kind of the point I want to get across here, because I want to make my life as easy as possible. It's got to be as effortless as possible. The only criticism that I might have had towards the G Techniq was the fact that when I sprayed it onto this mat, as you could see, there's a complete different color difference. So if you're not going to have enough confidence in yourself to make sure that you're going over it evenly, and there's that risk of you having patches, if I was to spray one concentrated area here like this and left it, then if you're that type of person who's worried about that sort of thing, then yeah, you may be better off going for the Turtle Wax. Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom for Turtle Wax. I did recently feature a video on their graphene misting quick detailer. That was a very interesting video because I did not believe that I was going to get the results that I was expecting. If you want to find out why, go watch this video right here.